Hello and welcome to Wholly Men's online series with Mastermind Connect, which is a virtual circle led by Omar Davis using the tools of alchemy to find inner wisdom and build brotherhood. Wholly Men is a space for men to come and talk about the real shit: life, work, relationships, family issues, or anything on your heart. In this space, we will open up the conversation to understand our perception, divine balance, our mind, our miracle body, inner wisdom, and the formations of sacred geometry. Welcome to Wholly Men. That's my jam. If you guys didn't know, yours truly created that segment and that little intro beat. I love music, so I still do music in my own little ways, and that was a fun little project that happened to make its way into the Wholly Men segment. Welcome, everybody, to Wholly Men with Mastermind Connect. We are here doing what we do. So today is going to be a little different, but I'll allow everyone to come in. Obviously, you know, we have some slight delays on these live casts, and we're going to allow people to come in. And today we encourage, as always, use the comment section. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what's going on. Today we're going to do it a little differently, but I'll get to that in a second once people come up in here. But I want to be very, very honest and just say that this has been a great learning experience for me, even to know, like, you know, from what to teach, how to teach, and then trusting and being guided by source and spirit, and just knowing that I'm always guided and protected, and a lot of it is also me doing this guiding. Blessing, Cynthia. And I'm just really getting in touch with more of myself by doing things that I love, but also by trusting that whatever is supposed to be said is going to be said from the highest of good, because I'm asking all that is and all that is in me to show me the way and how to speak and what to speak. So a lot of times I do have a script laid out, obviously, but, you know, it's what I do. But for the most part, even the script comes together in the idea of trust. And so today's session, it's going to be more practical. It's going to be more us doing stuff so that we can actually understand what it is that we are doing to understand these terms and all this stuff we've been talking about, right? So with all the knowledge that we have been able to ingest, it's now time to really like put that shit to practice, right? And so one thing, a lot of times people get so caught up in trying to feed themselves knowledge of how to, and they never get to the outcome of the practicality. Like, what practice are you putting in place so that you can have this how to make more sense? And so we're going to take a couple of different things for granted in this moment, because as you are here with me, we're going to spend some time in also some silence. Not the stupid silence where we're just sitting here looking at each other on the screen, but in silence of understanding that whenever we connect to certain parts of our body, especially some of the stuff we talked about back in the other sessions, we really are going to understand once again that you can literally tune into specific areas of your body. And I'm going to show you how, but we're going to start basic. Now, not everyone knows out there in the world of the internet joining us here today that not only am I a student of alchemy, but I'm also a true divine understanding of source. And I'm learning to practice and play with these concepts. I've always been connected to spirit. I've always been able to see things that are not in this fragment of light. But even also getting insight, being able to connect with the archangels, the alien brothers and sisters, being able to connect with different dimensions of myself, literally. And so, yeah, like being able to know all this stuff, it showed me a whole nother side of reality. And I don't always talk about this stuff because to me, it's really nobody else's business. But at the end of the day, it is a time where I know that not only I, but a bunch of us are experiencing a lot of these things that they like to call phenomenons or superhuman shit. But it really is just regular human shit. We just think so limited that we keep literally forgetting every moment that we are freaking gods on the inside. But diving straight into the 4D and 5D, I see. JD, you are absolutely right. And it's not even about that idea of diving in right now. It's just about the practice, though. Like we all need to sit and find the fine tune, so to say, and learn how to practice in a sense that's going to bring us into that 5D, right? And so that young brother right there states that because as I know, he is hella diving in between the fourth and fifth. And that's kind of what we want to think about, right? So let's just think about the brain real quick. The brain, our head, right? The stuff that we studied back in the first season. This is back in December. The brain and how it's literally a processor. It literally is. It's a processor. It's made to organize information so that your body knows how to process shit. Or we can also look at it as a synthesizer. It synthesizes information. And those informational synthesizations are usually hormones, molecules, neurotransmitters, little tiny squiggly looking particle things that match up like that and make you have a whole response. It's a beautiful experience. And what it comes down to, I want to show all of us. That doesn't make sense. I want to show you all that you can actually feel your brain. And it's going to take a moment of focus and concentration. And that's the main part about, like I said, with meditation. Meditation, going way back, it's literally only focus. It's nothing more. It's not, sitting down and finding peace and stillness. It's not going through the chakras. Those are concepts, but meditation is just only focus. So really quickly, I'm going to show you one technique that is actually going to allow you to get into your brain. But in order to realistically do this technique, it's always good to think about your anatomy because you're actually a machine. And think about if you had a machine that was kind of all fucked up and malaligned and not working, and then you tried to get it to do something, it's going to be all fucked up when it doesn't because it's a machine and it needs to be aligned. So we're the same way. We're just made of amino acids, FYI. So with that said, I want you to sit up straight and I want you to have a tilt in your spine, in the lower spine where your hips are poking out slightly, not hella to where you're really using your lower back muscles, but just ever so slightly to where you're sitting just underneath your sits bones and your spine is now stacked all the way up into the neck, into the head. And I want you to imagine that there's a line just being pulled slightly up. And I want you to focus on your tailbone. And if you didn't know where your tailbone is, it's all the way towards the end of your spine where you're connecting the sacrum and the hips and the part that goes into the downward triangle. And then it makes a little point and then it comes and it's literally about this far from your anus. So find your anus and then go back this far and you'll feel your tailbone. And you'll actually start to feel the stimulation of the energy of the electricity that is actually going there as you think about it. Like even me right now, I'm thinking about it and I can feel the stimulation at my tailbone. It's also where the root chakra lives. But as I'm feeling this stimulation, I'm now going to just imagine as my consciousness is going up the sacrum, and I really want to be detailed. The tailbone is like a little tiny shard of a triangle pointing down, or like the tip of a spearhead. And then it connects to the big sacrum, the downward triangle. And I want you to just focus on that triangle because that's where the nerves are going, right? And I want you to focus on those nerve endings. And you should be able to feel something now. And bring that energy up into the very top of the sacrum. And I want you even to now use your imagination and see the electricity because it's actually there and it's actually moving. Now bring that into the spinal cord of your lumbar spine. You should feel a zing. And if you feel that zing, just allow it to slowly shift up as you bring your consciousness with it because you're focused on each vertebrae as you move up. You're just focused on the feeling as you're coming up into the middle part near the belly button. And as you're going past that, you're really feeling the sensations within the spine, not the bones, but the spinal cord where the electricity is transferred. And now that's coming up to the area of the middle of your chest as you're starting to feel that energy come up into where your back is curved and you get into that heart space. And I want you to really focus on there and just send maybe like a little jolt of electricity to the heart real quick, just to give yourself some love, right? Just to wake it up a little bit. And then send that up into the top of the part of the heart and coming into the very top of the shoulders. And as that's coming up, I want you to then follow that energy into the brain as it comes up through the neck. And as you come into the brain, I want you to begin to feel the electricity. It's kind of like white noise. And I want you to be able to even imagine the electricity. And I want you to stimulate your parts of your brain. I want you to think about the very back of your brain, at the very back of the skull, where you actually take in vision so you can see. And I want you to take a deep breath into that. And then I want you to exhale, and I want you to slightly come down into the cerebellum, right towards the bottom where it curves to your skull and it attaches to your neck, right in that area. We're going to just focus on the cerebellum and the substantia nigra and all those beautiful parts. And then I want you to bring that energy forward and bring that focus forward and up as you move, just really like where your eardrums are, but inside, deep inside of your brain. And then I want you to shift up, straight up, vertically, as you're like in the center of your head, between your ears, directly behind the middle of your head. You're going up into the brain, into the limbic system. And I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to notice how you feel. I want you to notice the sensations, the electricity, even the oxygen. And I want you to take a deep breath and shake it off. And I want you to give yourself a super pat on the back, because you just went through the first lesson of understanding how to connect with the electricity and the energy within you by focusing your consciousness specifically. You have to be very specific when you place your focus on something. And the more specific you are, the faster you connect with it, the more you sensitize or feel, and then the faster you can manifest anything. So with that said, I want you to just take inventory, and I'm going to move on a little bit. But while I'm talking about the next step, I want you guys to leave it in the comments on what you felt from that process, what you felt about even that energy of going into the spine, maybe even that energy at the root chakra, right? And then coming up in as you come up out, and then the buzzing in the head. I want to just get some feedback and see how y'all experience that. Now, while we move and wait on those comments to come in, let's just go to the next section. And this is the gut. I don't know if you remember, but if you do remember, you literally have a brain in your gut. It's called the enteric nervous system, or the gut brain. It's also that thing that whenever you hear trust your gut, and they want you to trust it because it's inside of you and it's a brain. But a lot of times we don't trust our intuition. So therefore we falter and we find ourselves in an unfair or unnecessary place, right? But really quickly, we're going to now dive into that. We're going to dive into this gut brain. We're going to dive into the parts of the body that really help to sensitize. What I mean by that is it's reading chemicals. Like 90% of the serotonin that's produced is coming from your gut, which means that this is then being sent to the brain and then being released in more dosages to give you a sensation. And you need serotonin for everything: digestion, for mood, for brushing your teeth, for, blinking, for everything, rhythmic function, all these things. So we're going to dive into the gut really quick, and we're just going to take a little time to trust our intuition. So the first one was more of like an intellectual journey of thought through the spine. But this one, it's very important that you actually sense and have your intelligence system of feelings acting, not your thoughts. Thoughts ain't going to get you nowhere here. You have to go into the feeling centers, and this is how you use this system. Because when it's intuition, it's a feeling, and then you may put like a picture or some words to that feeling, like pick up your keys, right? But you felt it here, and it was like, oh, pick up your keys. So that's how that works. But let's just dive into that really quickly. I want you to take a deep breath into the back of the belly button really quickly, in through the nose on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. In through the nose. Fill up that belly, fill it up, and then exhale out of the mouth. You don't have to close your eyes, but I want you to bring your attention to your entire abdomen. And I want you to notice, how do you feel right now? How does it feel in your belly? How does it feel at the very top, or the solar plexus, and we carry a lot of anxiety sometimes? How does it feel there? How about on the left and right sides of your abdomen? How does it feel over there? On the left, we have the stomach at the top going into the pancreas. You have the spleen action right around that area. And then you go over to the right, you got the liver at the very top. Then you have, the appendix is way down there, but the gallbladder is also right around that liver area at the top. And then the kidneys are on the back, but at the top. So they're more towards the back. And then you have your intestines, your large intestine, your small intestine. Then you have your bladder, which sits at the very bottom. How does it feel down there? And again, using your feelings by sensing, not thinking. Sense what does it feel like? You can put a word to it like tense or numb or gross or diarrhea or constipation or tension and pain, knots, soothing, relaxed, warm water. Just put a name to it. And then I want you to speak to the gut, because there are a lot of little tiny microbiomes that live in your gut, and their consciousness is completely active. In their consciousness, you're literally the universe. You're like Earth. So they are born inside of you, and they're going to die inside of you. So let's just say to them, I'll trust when you're telling me what I need that is best. You can do this with foods. You can say to your stomach and hold the food in your hand, and you can say, is this good for me? And your stomach, your gut, the microbiomes, they will literally speak back to you. You may get a knot in the stomach or a jolt or like a pain. Maybe even just a sensation. Maybe even you'll hear straight up no. And now with the deep breath, I want you to shake it out. Sometimes those feelings can mix up stuff, especially if those feelings have been tense over the past couple of weeks. You can shake some stuff up. So just shake it out. Literally shake, because this is called the somatic exercise, where you're moving the soma, which are the muscles. And by little tiny vibrations, it actually helps to remove blood and then bring nutrients into the body. You should do that. It's amazing. I do it all the time with my boys too. All right, moving forward. So those are 2 techniques. And what we're learning, if you didn't catch on, it's connecting to the brains. We just connect to the head brain through the spinal column, because FYI, the brain is also the spinal cord and also the nerves that come to your fingertips. So your brain is literally everywhere in your head. It's just, it processes stuff up here. But just because the nerves are over here does not make them separate. One system. Now, same thing with your heart. And that's where we're going next. Because as we spoke before, there is a heart, there's a brain in your heart. Now, it's called the intrinsic cardiac nervous system. And this system is amazing. It is the first system in utero that is formed. So whenever the egg and the sperm goes into there and it crawls in and it makes this whole thing, and then the egg absorbs the sperm, and then it creates this osteoblast, and suddenly you have this thing that happens where the two poles implode in, and then there's this explosion, and suddenly they got the sonogram, and they're reading the belly, and they're like, oh, look, there's the heartbeat. Oh, yeah. And from the heartbeat right there, what happens is that there's no body. You're literally like a globus thing that only has this little heart brain that's now activated, and it's beating, and you can see it on the sonogram. And then your body grows around that. Your spine grows around that. Your heart is the first place that you exist from. And it is called the intrinsic cardiac nervous system because it is literally its own nervous system. It has its own conduction system that we have no idea how it works. It literally makes energy from nothing. It just says go. And somehow it creates these like electrorhythmic cells that stimulate a pulse, but we don't know how it works because it just comes from nowhere. Like you come from nowhere pretty much, but you exist. What? It's crazy talk. Okay. So, yes, that is true. Oneness can be confusing. How do you make these how do you make these multiple nervous systems easier to use throughout the day? Well, that's what we're going to get into after we connect to the heart, because it is a system, just like he says. And whenever we're connecting throughout the daily process of everyday life, it's important that we know how to connect to all those systems. Therefore, we can start to self-regulate better by tuning into our body more. So thank you for that, JD, because that was a perfect segue into where we're going. So with that, we're going to just tap into the heart real quick. And we're not going to go too deep because the heart can get real because the subconscious mind is there, the inner child. Even in Christianity, the famous text of the gateway of heaven is through the heart of a child. What do you think they meant? Well, the inner child. And then that whole sacred space about energy coming from nowhere thing, through there, you can find heaven. But heaven is also a state. It's not a place. So that's very important to understand. Because you're in heaven, FYI. You just, it's in here. You got to make it. But another story. So with that said, let's just practice real quick how to tap into the heart. You can use the brain by using your imagination to visualize yourself inside of the heart. Or you can use your feelings, which your gut brain is, to bring your sensations of care and compassion and softness into the heart. So whichever one you want to do, I've usually tried to do both. I started off with the intellect because it was easier for me to use my logical and my imaginative brain. So that's left and right. And to focus deeply with vivid perception into the heart. And also I had a little one up because I knew exactly what it looked like from not only working with the body and, like going to look at a lot of dissections and stuff, which is always fun. But from there, I really had a understanding of what it looked like. And so if you want to use your feelings to get into that area just by feeling your way in the heart, that's completely fine too. You do not need to completely use your imagination. But with that said, we always start with the breath. So we're going to breathe in through the nose on a deep breath, but this time not out of the mouth. We're only going to breathe out of our nose. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. In through your nose. I'm a little stuffy. Corpus and allergies. Out of your nose. In through your nose once again. And bring all your air into your chest to where you open up those lungs, you open up those ribs, take as much air as you can. And as you exhale slowly, I want you to just sense the heart. I want you to feel the beating maybe. Listen for it. But even ask the question, how do I feel today in my heart? And be honest. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. What you feel is what you feel. It's perfectly fine. Now I want you to breathe deeper into the heart, but I want you to make this count. I want you to make it matter. Like breathe in care. And I want you to focus literally on the heart. But I want you to think about the top right-hand side of the heart. So it's going to be closer to the middle of your chest, because the heart is not directly in the center. It's slightly to the left. So this point is going to be a little bit towards the center of your chest, just slightly to the left, but it's at the very top of your heart in the upper right atrium. And I want you to imagine a golden light that's beginning to shine from your heart, maybe the size of a pea. And I want you to just say to this space, I am you. I live here. I exist within this sacred space. And here I am connected to the entire universe. And I want you to now make that little light that's golden a little bigger. And then I want you to grow it a little bigger, maybe towards the size of a golf ball. And now I want you to grow it a little bigger, tennis ball. And with the deep breath, we're going to get it a little bigger, baseball size. And I want you to feel how this focus, you can feel it in your lungs. You can feel this golden energy tingling the inside of your body, healing areas of brokenheartedness, trauma, all that. Just let it soothe this energy. And with the deep breath, I want you to now allow yourself to relax, allow your shoulders to fall back, allow your neck and head to relax, your jaw, your face. And I want you to open your eyes. And I want you to just be in this space and think about what you feel in this space, what you sense in this space. And I also want you to take a little quick moment so you can just process. The heart is your center. The brain is my processor. The stomach are my feelings and emotional, intelligent brain. So just take that in really quick. Let your mind intellectually comprehend this. So, as we move forward and in the session, I wanted to just allow you all to comprehend that when we are in our day-to-day, when we are in regular life, the first thing that we must recognize is how we feel. By tuning into one of these brains, if you're arguing and rationalizing with your mind, that's your ego. Bat that out. Just tune into how you feel. Tune into where you are. No matter what it is. Like, let's say if you're having a shitty interaction with a colleague, right? Just tune in. Like, what do I feel right now? Let's say if you're at the coffee shop and you anxious as a motherfucker because you about to miss this train and you need to get there. And if you don't hurry up and get this coffee, you're going to miss it. So you feeling what? So tune into that feeling. What about if you're in the kitchen slamming all hard with the knife and chopping because you and your spouse or your wife or your husband were arguing and you upset? Tune into that feeling in that moment. But then I want you to comprehend that the mind will always try to rationalize and defend. So if you're defending at any moment, it's all ego. It's defense. You don't want to do that. But maybe about comprehending. So to feel and say, I feel this, and maybe somebody offended you or did something to actually not treat you fairly and step on your shoes, right? Step on your toes. Then find a way to communicate without actually projecting and reacting. But then the hardest part is questioning, why did I have that in me? Because it wasn't the person, it was what I perceived happened. Therefore, I reacted in a certain way. And that's the most difficult part. And that's why mindfulness and being in communication with all these three brains is vital, because your ego mind will suddenly say something like, wild out, react, defense. defend yourself. You a man, you a woman, right? Don't let nobody treat you that way. That shit. But your intuition will be like, ooh, I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. This person makes me feel unsafe. Hold on, what's going on? But then your heart will say, I am not willing to put up with this. Or your heart will just shut down because you're not in your truth. And once again, that's another additive. The way to get into your truth is by trusting yourself. Yeah. So none of this is going to be simple. But the point is, you got community, you got support. So you have people to relate to your experience. And that's very, very important. Yes, we have to do our own inner observation. Yes, we have to do our own inner understanding. But we do truly need each other because we are solely reflections. I'll say this, test it out. Go to the people around you and start asking them about stuff that's happening in your life. Like just relate to them a story. Like tell them something that's going on in your life and watch how many people be like, yo, word, me too. But don't go like vent and just like dump and shit, right? It's not a dumping ground. You just mention it to them. Yeah, I'm experiencing this. A lot of times the people around us are too because we are all reflections of each other. Now, with that said, we just went through a lesson of the 3 brains. This is very important for humanity to understand that for one, you have 3 brains. For two, you have the ability to not only connect with these intelligent systems, but you have the ability to learn how to run them. I tell my students all the time, if you can understand that your body is a machine and you look at an airplane and you look at the pilot, and you'll say the pilot is not the airplane because the airplane has all these knobs and pulleys and gadgets and radars and stuff to track the system. But the pilot is controlling all that stuff. So the body is the airplane. And our Atman, our inner man, our inner source is the pilot. So we need to go into that person. We need to remember who that is, going back to that true self. And once we do that, we learn all things. It's a beautiful place, man. But with that said, I see Omari. It's all good, brother. Blast. You can run it back, and there's some gems, some practices in there that we all need. That's what I was just talking about. But with that said, we're gonna go ahead and cut this session as it is time. We have went just past mark. I am super grateful for my man Manny in the background. He has inspired me to try to find some Ethiopian food anywhere near me. I will drive there because it is delicious. But I like to just do a big shout out to my mastermind brothers, all of you out there, all of you that I'm going to be seeing soon when I get back to New York City. And I'm looking forward to just parlaying, man. I miss you all. I love you all. I hope all of you are well. It's been too long. I've been really jealous of those pictures I've seen of y'all hanging out, but I get it. I'm where I'm at. But I just miss you guys, truly. With that said, Manny, once again, thank you for everything. Wholly Men, Mastermind Connect. Tune back in. We're going to be switching it up. We're going to be doing some things different. You can follow us always at Mastermind Connect and on Instagram and Facebook to find out what we're going to be doing. We're going to be moving this more into the aspect of doing it for members, but also in an engagement piece so that we can actually talk about it instead of just being in this sense of the video lesson. So looking forward to that. For all of you men out there who want to know more about Mastermind, please check us out, mastermindconnect.com. You can see what we all do. You can check out the Facebook and Instagram, and you can see what we do to see if it's something that you want to be a part of. It is a blessed community. It is a blessed brotherhood. I am so grateful to be a part of it. And with that said, peace.